Ray Dalio just did something he almost never does in public. The man who built Bridgewater into the largest hedge fund on earth, the investor whose entire reputation is built on staying calm, staying diversified, and owning a little bit of everything, just tore his U.S. stock portfolio apart and rebuilt it around a small group of names. This wasn't a tweak, it was a teardown. And when the guy who wrote the book on debt crises suddenly stops spreading his money everywhere and starts concentrating it into 10 specific stocks, that is not noise. That is a signal. So let's go through all 10, exactly what he bought, and the single brutal thesis tying every one of them together. Every quarter, the biggest funds in the world are legally required to tell the government what they own. It's called a 13F filing, and it's the only honest X-ray we get into how the smartest money is actually positioned. Bridgewater's filing for the first quarter of 2026 just dropped, and the very first number is a clue. The fund's reported U.S. stockpile shrank to about $22.4 billion, down from $27.4 billion at the end of last year. Now, a fund getting smaller usually sounds boring. It isn't. Because Bridgewater didn't just get smaller, it got sharper. It cut the number of stocks it held and funneled the money it kept into a tighter, far more aggressive set of bets. Think about how strange that is. This is the firm whose founder literally invented a strategy called all-weather, built entirely on the idea that you should own a little of everything, so no single storm can hurt you. For a man like that to deliberately concentrate his portfolio is a loud, deliberate statement. And to understand what he's saying, you have to understand what Dalio thinks is coming. He's been on a media warpath, warning that the stretch between the 2026 midterms and the 2028 presidential election is a uniquely dangerous window for the United States. His reasoning is blunt. As he put it, the U.S. government spends $7 trillion a year while only taking in about $5, which means the country is running a 40% overspending problem it can only plug by selling more and more debt. That's the lens. Now watch how all 10 of these buys snap into focus through it. There's a second piece to the warning that makes it worse. Historically, when America overspent, it just sold the extra debt to foreigners, to China, to the big exporting nations sitting on piles of dollars. Dalio's point is that this mechanism is breaking down, with foreign buyers, particularly China, reducing demand for U.S. debt out of fear that their holdings could be frozen or weaponized in a conflict. When the country that needs to borrow the most starts running out of willing lenders, interest rates have to climb to attract buyers, and rising rates strangle the very economy doing the borrowing. That is the trap Dalio sees, and every one of his 10 buys is shaped to survive it. Let's start with the cluster that dominates the entire buy side. 5 semiconductor and hardware names, and they tell you exactly where Dalio believes the real money in artificial intelligence is hiding. Not in the flashy apps everyone talks about, in the plumbing underneath them. Stock number 1 is Nvidia, and the timing is the whole story. Back in the third quarter of 2025, Bridgewater slashed its Nvidia stake by about 65%. It looked like Dalio was calling the top on AI and heading for the exit. Then this quarter, he reversed hard and reloaded, adding 827,798 Nvidia shares to push the position to 4,693,003 shares worth about $818 million. When a macro investor cuts a stock by 2/3 and then comes sprinting back a couple of quarters later, he isn't chasing hype. He's decided the thing he was afraid of didn't break, and the trend has further to run, and the trend is staggering. The biggest cloud companies on the planet are locked in a spending arms race, committing hundreds of billions of dollars to AI data centers, and almost every one of those dollars eventually lands on Nvidia's order book. Dalio isn't trying to be clever here. He's just standing where the money flows. Stock 2 is Broadcom. Dalio added 669,640 shares, growing the position 57% to roughly $568 million. Broadcom is the quiet monster of the AI trade, the company building the custom chips and the high-speed networking switches that stitch enormous data centers together. If Nvidia sells the engines, Broadcom sells the nervous system, and you can't run one without the other. Stock 3 is Micron, where he added 586,064 shares, a 66% jump to about $499 million. Every AI chip on the market is starving for memory, and Micron makes the high bandwidth memory that feeds them. As the models get bigger, the memory bottleneck gets worse, not better, and the company solving that bottleneck gets paid.
Stock 4 is the one that surprised people, Taiwan Semiconductor. This was a brand new position built from zero, acquiring 1,077,079 shares, worth about $364 million. TSMC is the foundry that physically manufactures almost every advanced AI chip on the planet, including Nvidia's. By buying the foundry directly, Dalio isn't betting on one chip designer beating another. He's betting that whoever wins the AI war, all of them have to line up at the exact same factory door. Stock 5 rounds out the hardware cluster, Marvell Technology. He nearly doubled it, buying 961,725 shares to take the stake to about $193 million. Marvell designs the custom AI silicon for the cloud giants that want to build their own chips instead of buying off the shelf, which is precisely where the industry is heading next. Put those 5 together and the thesis is impossible to miss. Dalio is not trying to guess which AI company wins. He is buying the toll booth. Nvidia, Broadcom, Micron, TSMC, and Marvell are the names that get paid no matter which app, which model, or which cloud platform comes out on top. It's the closest thing in the market to owning the road instead of gambling on a single car. Now flip to the demand side. Stock 6 and 7 are the mega caps actually spending the trillions that flow down to all those chip makers. Number 6 is Amazon, and this was the single biggest dollar move of the entire quarter. Dalio added 2,440,457 Amazon shares, a 125% increase that brought the stake to about $914 million. More than doubling your largest new position in 3 months is not the behavior of a man playing defense on that name. And Amazon is special here because it's 2 things at once: a hyperscaler pouring billions into AI data centers, and a physical logistics empire moving real goods through real warehouses. It's the hinge between Dalio's technology bet and his physical economy bet, which you'll see in a second. Number 7 is Alphabet, Google's parent. He grew the existing stake about 26% to 1,997,674 shares, worth roughly $574 million. And on top of that, opened a separate new position in Alphabet's other share class. Google lives on the demand side and the supply side simultaneously, designing its own AI chips while spending heavily on everyone else's. Owning it is a way to be long the entire arms race at once, regardless of who's ahead in any given month. Here's the connective tissue. Across these 7 tech names, the filing shows Dalio opening 2 new positions and significantly increasing 5 existing stakes in the exact companies driving the AI spending wave, while at the same time pulling money out of the broad market. He is not buying the market, he is surgically extracting the engines of the market and leaving the rest of it behind. If the story ended at chips and big tech, this would just be another AI portfolio. It doesn't end there. The last 3 stocks are where Dalio's real worldview shows up, and they have absolutely nothing to do with Silicon Valley. Stock 8 is Nucor, the largest steel producer in the United States. A brand new position. Stock 9 is PACCAR, the company behind Kenworth and Peterbilt heavy trucks. Also new. And stock 10 is American Airlines, another fresh buy. Steel, trucks, and domestic flight. According to the filing, the key additions included American Airlines, Apollo Global Management, Nucor, PACCAR, Synopsys, and an emerging markets fund, and Dalio also nudged up his stake in the freight railroad CSX on top of that. So why would the world's most famous macro investor suddenly want steel mills, heavy trucks, and an airline in the very same quarter he's loading up on AI chips? Because this is the other end of what analysts call his barbell. Dalio believes globalization itself is ending, that nations are turning inward, rebuilding their own industrial bases, and prioritizing supply chains they physically control over whatever is cheapest overseas. In a world like that, the boring physical backbone, the steel, the freight rail, the trucks, the planes, the things that cannot be outsourced, sanctioned, or printed into existence, becomes valuable again. This is straight out of Dalio's own playbook. For years, he's argued that history runs in long cycles, and that we are living through the messy end of one, a moment where a dominant power gets challenged, debt piles up, and the rules of the global economy get rewritten. He's compared this period to the 1930s and 1970s, eras when paper promises lost value and hard real things held it. So when he buys an American steelmaker and a truck manufacturer, he isn't suddenly bullish on steel demand next quarter. He's making a 50-year bet that the physical economy gets repriced as the world stops trusting the old arrangement.
That's the shape of the whole portfolio. Two hardened ends and almost no soft middle. Hypergrowth AI hardware on one side, hard physical industry on the other. Explosive upside bolted directly onto inflation-resistant protection. It's not a random shopping list. It's a machine designed to do two opposite jobs at the same time. And the companies caught in the comfortable middle, the ones that depend on a calm, frictionless, globalized world, are exactly the ones he's been dumping. What an investor sells tells you as much as what he buys, and the sell side here is just as deliberate. While Dalio was loading up on hardware, he was running a full-scale execution of software. Bridgewater fully exited its Salesforce position, dumping roughly 1.93 million shares, and on top of that, eliminated its holdings in Workday, ServiceNow, Global Payments, and GoDaddy. He even trimmed his AI-adjacent names, dumping 363,760 AMD shares and cutting Oracle. This is not random housekeeping, it's a thesis. Corporate technology budgets are not infinite. Every single dollar a company now pours into AI hardware and raw cloud compute is a dollar it is not spending on its old software subscriptions. Dalio is betting that the budget is being cannibalized, that the money is draining out of the software layer he just sold and flowing straight into the hardware layer he just bought. And there's a darker version of that same bet. The software companies he exited, the workflow tools, the customer relationship platforms, sell software that helps human employees do their jobs. But the entire promise of AI is that it starts doing those jobs directly. If the AI agents being built on top of all this hardware can automate the very white-collar work that those software seats exist to support, then the business model underneath the whole sector quietly rots from the inside. Dalio isn't just rotating from one tech bucket to another. He's betting that one layer of technology is about to eat the other. And the cleanest tell of all is what he did to the index itself. Just one quarter earlier, the story was that Dalio had basically given up on picking individual stocks and was content to just own the S&P 500. This quarter blew that narrative up. As one breakdown of the filing put it, Bridgewater cut its iShares S&P 500 holding by about $1 billion and added single stocks instead. He is unbundling the index by hand, keeping the parts he wants and throwing away the average. So, what is driving a man to do all of this at once? It comes straight back to that fiscal warning. Dalio thinks the United States is walking into its riskiest stretch in years, with growth slowing to just 2% real GDP growth in the first quarter, consumer sentiment cratering to 53.3, and a government that is structurally addicted to borrowing. When you genuinely believe debt is going to become the central problem of the decade, you do two things. You own the assets that can grow faster than the debt, which is the AI hardware, and you own the assets that survive when paper money gets quietly debased. That's where his gold conviction comes in. Speaking in Dubai earlier this year, Dalio called gold the safest money there is, and warned that the world is sliding toward what he calls a capital war, an era where nations weaponize currencies, reserves, and capital flows against each other. He's been telling anyone who will listen to hold 5% to 15% of a portfolio in gold as permanent insurance, and he is far from alone, because central banks bought a net 863 tons of gold in 2025, far above their long-run pace. To Dalio, gold isn't a trade. It's the anchor for a world he believes is coming apart at the seams. That one idea,
the unraveling of the old world order, is the thread running through every single one of these 10 stocks. The chips are the growth. The steel and the freight are the resilience. The gold is the insurance. And notice what's missing from the entire structure: the traditional safe haven. For decades, the standard advice was a simple 60-40 split between stocks and government bonds. Dalio is effectively declaring that dead. When the government itself is the source of the risk, its bonds stop being a shelter, so he's replaced that old anchor with hard assets and physical scarcity. The whole portfolio is engineered to survive the exact debt reckoning he will not stop warning about.
Here's the part to sit with. Bridgewater did not make these moves in a panic during a crash. It made them while the market was sitting near record highs and almost everyone else was euphoric. That's the pattern that actually matters. Dalio is not positioning for the next leg of the rally. He is positioning for what comes after it, building a portfolio with two reinforced ends and no fragile middle, which is the exact shape you'd build if you believed the easy years were ending. Now, a few honest caveats, because they matter. A 13F is a rear-view mirror. It's a snapshot frozen on March 31st that only gets published in mid-May, so some of these positions may already have changed. It also only reveals U.S. stocks, not Bridgewater's bonds, its currency trades, its short positions, or its cash, which is where a global macro fund like this one really lives and breathes. And strictly speaking, these are the firm's filings, not a guarantee that Dalio personally placed every order himself. So this is not a list to blindly copy into your own account. But the framework is the real lesson. One of the most respected macro minds of the last 50 years looked at a market at all-time highs, looked at a government overspending by 40%, looked at a world fracturing into rival blocks, and decided the right move was to own the toll booth of the AI economy on one end, hard physical assets on the other, and let go of everything caught in the middle. While the crowd was busy celebrating, he was quietly rebuilding the boat. History tends to remember the people who repositioned before the storm, not the ones who were still dancing when it finally hit. And right now, Ray Dalio is very clearly battening down the hatches.